Hello gamers, welcome to Game Recaps. In this video, I will discuss the storyline of the game, Little Nightmares 2. It should be noted that the timeline of this series is still uncertain, whether it is a prequel or a sequel to the game Little Nightmares 1. However, there is a lot of speculation that Little Nightmares 2 is a prequel to the game Little Nightmares 1, where Six's adventures, before boarding the maw and after the events in the very Little Nightmares series. It's still confusing, but that's the interesting side of this game. We are invited to guess the storyline and timeline that connects all the series in the Little Nightmares game. But before discussing further the various theories in the game Little Nightmares 2, let's watch the storyline of the game. In the game Little Nightmares 2, the player will act as Mono, the boy wearing a paper bag over his head, fighting with Six, the protagonist of the Little Nightmares 1 series. Before discussing the game's storyline, I will briefly explain the storyline of the comic version of the Little Nightmares 2 series, which we can download for free on the Play Store and App Store. The storyline of the Little Nightmares 2 comic tells the story of Six's adventures, before the events in the Little Nightmares 2 game occur. That night, Six was running away from a man nicknamed the Hunter. While hiding, Six saw Mono sitting pensively at the top of a tall tree. On the other hand, Mono was also aware of the presence of Six, who was watching him from below. However, because Six's attention was focused on Mono, she didn't realize that the Hunter was behind her until she was caught. Well, that's the opening part of the Little Nightmares 2 comic. The next few chapters only explain the antagonists that will appear in the Little Nightmares 2 game and the storyline from Mono's point of view. Not much can be revealed from the comic version of the storyline, because there are still very few chapters. Okay, without further ado, I will immediately discuss the storyline of the game Little Nightmares 2, which opens with the scene Mono who awakens from a dream of a door marked with an eye at the end of a hallway. That night, Mono walks alone through the wilderness and crosses a mound of corpses caught in a large trap, indicating many traps around the area. After successfully avoiding various traps, Mono finally arrived at a house whose courtyard was filled with empty cages. He sneaked into the house through the kitchen window. If you looked closely, a jug of water could be seen being heated on the stove, indicating that the house was inhabited. While walking around, Mono hears some music, leading him to a room where a little girl cooped up there, and the little girl plays the music box. Mono then freed the little girl, who was none other than Six, which in the comic version, Six is said to have been caught by the Hunter. However, when Mono reached out his hand to help Six, the little girl suddenly ran and left the room. While chasing Six across the room after room in the house, Mono finds 3 people sitting frozen at a dining table, which looks like a small family consisting of a father, mother, and son. Even so, the 3 of them are not humans but dolls, made to resemble humans, which implies that the owner of the house, or the Hunter, feels very lonely, thus creating his own family. Mono finally discovers Six's whereabouts, and the two work together to lower the attic ladder to escape the house. Mono and Six finally made it out and across the backyard and into a room filled with hanging leather stitches, where the Hunter was seen sewing the hides of his prey. Mono and Six sneak through the room to not be caught by the Hunter. Unfortunately, the Hunter discovered their escape, and he immediately chased after them while shooting a barrage of bullets at them. The Hunter managed to corner Mono and Six, who were trapped in a workshop. Just as the Hunter was about to kill them, Mono and Six teamed up to grab a shotgun and aim it straight at the Hunter, instantly killing the man. Using a door as a raft, Mono and Six drift across a body of water and wash up at the Pale City, which is shrouded by mist and rain, and strewn with old television sets. Pale City looked so gloomy and desolate. There was no sign of life there, only various clothes hanging everywhere. Mono and Six then enter a guest house and find a set of clothes hanging from the house's ceiling, which indicates that someone had hanged himself and somehow, his body just disappeared. When Mono entered another room, a television suddenly turned on and issued a transmission that slowly eroded Mono's body. Mono then closed his eyes as he moved closer, before finally touching the screen and manipulating it. Immediately, Mono moved into a narrow alley with an eye-painted door at the end, the same place he had seen in his dream. This shows that Mono has a special ability related to transmission on television. Mono then moved towards the door and fought with all his might against the invisible energy that was trying to hold him back. However, before he reached the door, 6 suddenly pulled the boy out of the television. The two of them resumed their journey of exploring Pale City. Shortly after, Mono and 6 arrive at a school filled with bullies made of ceramic. But the most terrifying thing about the school is the presence of a woman nicknamed the Teacher, who can lengthen her neck. As I've discussed before, the Teacher is likely the mother of the Pretender, as can be seen from her family photo. And 6 are caught by the bullies and locked up in different places upon entering the school building. Mono finally manages to escape and rushes to save 6. 6's rescue mission this time is certainly not as easy as at the hunter's house. Mono must face the bullies who are constantly chasing him while avoiding the Teacher's attacks or hiding from the woman's scrutiny who is always around the school area. One of the Teacher's favorite locations in the school is the science lab, which implies that the Teacher is a biology teacher and likes to conduct terrifying experiments, as can be seen from the various tubes in the room, which contain human organs. Most likely, the Teacher was the one responsible for the formation of bullies, where she carried out horrific experiments on children and turned them into ceramic bodies. In the end, Mono managed to save 6, and the two of them rushed out of the school while avoiding the pursuit of the Teacher. Mono and 6 then reach an abandoned area where 6 finds a yellow raincoat. But strangely, when she wore the yellow raincoat, she looked unfamiliar, as if it was the first time wearing it. I will explain this part further in the theory discussion, so stay tuned guys. After continuing their journey, Mono and 6 finally arrived at a dimly lit hospital. Luckily, Mono found a flashlight that he could use to light his way through the hospital. Like hospitals in general, this place is also filled with patients who are nicknamed the Patients. But the patients are no ordinary patients. They are a mannequin ready to pounce on anyone. However, the patients will only move when there is no light at all, and the only way to stop the patients is to shine the light directly at them. While exploring the hospital deeper, Mono and 6 meet the doctor's figure who moves by crawling on the hospital ceiling. The doctor is always seen treating his model patients. According to the fans' theory, the patients used to be ordinary patients, but the doctor then conducted a series of gruesome experiments on them. Patients would be seated in electric chairs and electrocuted to death, while confronted with an image on the wall associated with a broadcast signal. That way, even if the patient dies, their soul will be trapped forever in the world. After that, the doctor will insert their souls into the body parts of the mannequins, thus creating the patient's mannequins who have souls. The possibility that causes the patients to stop moving when the light shines on them is that the light reminds them of the light in the operating room, which instantly brings back their memories and trauma, causing their bodies to stop moving. In addition to making his mannequin patients, the doctor is also responsible for making face masks for the creatures we meet in the Little Nightmares series, as seen from the many face masks in the doctor's operating room. Face masks are used to cover their faces, which are really crushed and shapeless. Mono and 6 were caught by the doctor, who immediately chased them to the incinerator room when they wanted to escape from there. 6 then hides somewhere, while Mono enters the incinerator and exits straight through the gap below, and may choose to kill him or leave him trapped inside. When the doctor goes inside the incinerator to chase Mono, 6 then closes the door and ignites the incinerator, burning the doctor alive. After successfully getting out of the hospital, Mono and 6 then found the residents of Pale City, or the viewers, who had fallen from a height. A resident is seen falling from a height, then into a house, and then running towards the television and destroying his own head by banging his head against the television. The viewers seem so obsessed with television shows in the city, where their attention is never once taken away from the television screen. If we turn off one television, they will look for another television that is still on. One thing that has been confirmed about the viewers is that they can be sucked into the television show if they've been watching it for too long and will just leave their clothes behind. This is explained by discovering various kinds of clothing scattered throughout the city. For the second time, a television broadcast a transmission which was then manipulated by Mono. This time, Mono managed to open the eye-painted door at the end of the hall. After going in there, Mono saw a mysterious man with a tall thin body, nicknamed the Thin Man. When Thin Man got up and approached Mono, 6 suddenly pulled Mono out of the television. At that moment, Thin Man came out of the television screen and chased the two of them. Mono manages to escape and hides under the bed. Still, 6 is caught and carried away by the Thin Man to a signal tower called the Black Tower, which emits a pervasive transmission that controls the city's inhabitants, and briefly leaves a glitch in the form of 6 there, which indirectly explains that all the glitches we find in Pale City are the work of Thin Man. Mono then returned to the same television. Finally, the boy realized that he could switch places from one television to another. Using this ability, Mono then explores various abandoned buildings in the city to reach the whereabouts of 6, who are held captive in the Black Tower. Along the way, Mono sees the viewers dropping from a height. Not only that, they sometimes chased Mono because they were disturbed by the boy's presence until in the end. Mono managed to reach the room where 6 was being held captive on a television. Mono tries to free 6, but is caught by Thin Man, who then pulls 6 back into the television show. After that, Thin Man got out of the television and immediately chased Mono all over Pale City. Mono finally managed to escape from Thin Man by releasing a train carriage, which carried Mono away from Thin Man. While walking alone, a transmission or glitch resembling 6 on television that was near Mono then led him to climb a ladder. Upon arriving at the top, Mono found himself on the main street of Pale City, right in front of the Black Tower. Thin Man reappeared in front of Mono and was about to attack the boy. But then, Mono takes off his hood and uses his powers to fight the Thin Man, eventually destroying the man. After that, Mono again uses his powers and pulls the Black Tower towards himself. Mono then enters the Black Tower, which looks very abstract inside with gloomy pink lighting and floating objects. He then followed the sound of the music and finally found 6, now a distorted giant of herself. In the room where 6 is located, there is an open suitcase, which reminds us of Little Nightmares 1, when 6 first woke up on the ground floor of the mall. 6 become hostiles when Mono damages her precious music box. An enraged 6 chases Mono, but the boy manages to escape. Mono then opens a locked room with an axe, and again confronts 6, who seems to be protecting her music box. Mono then tried to destroy 6's music box until the object was finally completely destroyed. And 6 returned to her normal form. Unfortunately, after successfully restoring 6 to her original form, Mono and 6 are faced with the Black Tower slowly starting to crumble. As the signal tower begins to crumble, Mono and 6 are pursued by the gelatinous mass of flesh and eyes which forms its core. 6 ran in front of Mono across the bridge, and Mono caught up behind her. When 6 managed to arrive at the end of the bridge, Mono still had to struggle across the collapsed bridge and required him to jump while holding on to 6's hand so he wouldn't fall from a height. For a moment, 6 seemed silent. However, instead of helping Mono get back up, 6 accidentally let go of her hand so that Mono fell down. After that, she casually walked towards the transmission that would take her out of the place. On the other hand, Mono fell into the depths of the place and wandered until he found a chair. Alone and surrounded by the mass, he sits in a solitary chair and resigns to his fate. As time passes, and Mono grows older and taller while slowly being corrupted by the signal tower's influence, eventually taking on the form of the Thin Man, indicating that the Thin Man is actually Mono's future self, creating a loop in the story. The game ends by showing the now adult Mono in the room at the end of the hallway in his dream, and the door closes. If we manage to get 18 glitching children throughout the game, a secret ending will appear. In the secret ending, the story will continue from 6's point of view, which shows 6 exiting a television portal and reaching a dark room. 6 then meets a dark shadow resembling her, usually called the Dark 6. Dark 6 then pointed to a pamphlet on the floor advertising the mall, which was the setting of the game Little Nightmares 1. 6's stomach suddenly rumbled with hunger, and the game was completely over. Through this secret ending, we know that 6 also has abilities like Mono. It's likely 6 had absorbed the boy's strength as Mono clung to her, like when 6 preyed on the lady in the Little Nightmares 1 game, which finally made her have the power of the lady. Okay, that's the whole story of the game Little Nightmares 2, which is certainly no less interesting than the previous series, which of course still leaves many mysteries that have not been revealed. In the next video, I will discuss various theories from fans about the Little Nightmares 2 game, so please subscribe to Game Recaps so you don't miss our videos. Thank you for watching.